learning laboratories for innovation, sustainability, and social impact. So before we start the discussion, I would like to request today's panelists to introduce themselves so you can get to know the voices you'll be hearing from. Our first panelist is Dr. Marco Tortora, who is Sustainable Development and Social Innovation Expert. Marco, could you tell us a bit about yourself and where you're from?
Hi, Hisha. Hi, everyone. I'm from Florence, Italy. It's a real pleasure to be here today with you and be working in the sustainability area for around 20 years right now. Different perspectives from academia to a more business-oriented approach. So I'm really happy again to be here and to discuss this topic with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. Next, we have Lorenzo Ciccarelli, who is Program Director for Italy at Authentica. Lorenzo, please share a bit about yourself.
Yes, thank you, Isha. Hello, everyone. Very happy as well to be here in this cloudy day in Florence. I've been in the business for the last 25 years and recently joined Authentica, and I'm the Program Director for Italy, as well as overseeing our Spanish operations in Barcelona.
Thanks, Lorenzo. Our next panelist is Logan Slabe, a study abroad alumna and a recent graduate of the master's program in sustainable fashion at Polymoda. And today she will bring student perspective to our discussion. So let's hear more from you, Logan.
Yes, thank you so much for the introduction. And hello, everybody. My name's Logan. I'm a recent graduate of sustainable fashion from a fashion institution based in Florence. I'm from the United States originally, the Midwest, so yeah, very big range. But yeah, I'm here to share a little bit more about my experience and my journey working in sustainability. I currently have a role right now as a CSR and sustainability intern for a luxury experience company.
Thank you, Logan. We have Gina Mehfood with us, who is the VP of Institutional Relations and Student Experience, and she'll be discussing the practical sides of turning these educational concepts into reality. So Gina, please go ahead.
Thank you, Isha. Thank you, everybody. Hello. Welcome to this session today. I'm excited to be here. As Isha mentioned, I work with Authentica in the Institutional Relations and Student Experience realm, and I've been working in education for over 20 years and ed abroad, international education, for about 8 now. And again, I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. And I'm Isha Raturi, Head of Content Marketing, also known as Chief Storyteller at Authentica. And my role at Authentica is to share inspiring stories about how study abroad can transform students into global change makers. And today I'm joining you from our India office. So now that you know today's panelists, let me briefly introduce you to Authentica and our commitment to sustainability education. We are an experiential learning company, and at our core, we are about creating transformative learning experiences for students that don't just educate the mind, but really engage them completely, their physical experience, emotions, intellect, sense of purpose, like that. And our vision is simple but powerful: a world enriched by courageous global citizens uniting to tackle our shared challenges. We've had the privilege to support and partner with institutions from North America, Australia, and beyond. We've been in the field of international education for 12 years now, operating in over 30 locations, delivering over 200 programs, and enriching the lives of over 5,500 participants. But what truly sets us apart is our commitment to sustainability. All our programs are aligned with UN Sustainable Development Goals. We are working towards carbon neutrality by 2025. We are also the co-authors of the Forum EA Guidelines for Advancing the SDGs. We have been sponsoring Forum EA SDG Awards for more than 4 years now. And we are also the signatories to the CANI Commitment for Sustainable Education. We operate globally across 30 plus countries in Asia, Pacific, Europe, and Africa. We have 4 study abroad program types: custom faculty-led programs, project-based learning, internships, and our newly launched standard programs, which are initially launched in Italy and Spain. These are summer and semester experiences with integrated academics, cultural immersion, and community engagement, and a strong focus on sustainability. So Gina will share more details about these later in our discussion. So let's get started with today's webinar. So before we dive into today's discussion, let's understand your current experiences with social entrepreneurship in study abroad through this quick poll. Gina, if you can, thank you. How does your institution currently incorporate social entrepreneurship into study abroad? Not right now, business courses only, community service projects, comprehensive, you have comprehensive social entrepreneurship curriculum. Nice to see mixed responses.
Yeah, a lot across the board. I'll share the results here in a second.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Oh, we got some more people coming in.
Great to see community service projects 40%, comprehensive social entrepreneurship curriculum 40%, business courses 20%. It's great to see the results. Thank you for voting, and very interesting to see the diversity of approaches here. You know, this will help us see where everyone is starting from. So before we open the stage for our panelists, let me share the foundation for today's discussion. So think of European cities like Florence and Barcelona as living classrooms where centuries of cooperative tradition meets cutting-edge innovation. So these aren't just tourist destinations. They're global centers for fashion, art, manufacturing, with deep roots in cooperatives that continue to shape how business is done today. So instead of just reading about, entrepreneurship in textbooks, students work alongside local entrepreneurs solving real problems like sustainable fashion companies transforming textile waste into new clothing lines, or circular economy startups helping businesses turn byproducts into resources for other industries. So these aren't just feel good volunteer projects, these are actual businesses that balance profit with impact, where students contribute meaningfully while learning how purpose driven entrepreneurs navigate European business culture and build scalable solutions. So let's get started by understanding what makes European cities particularly rich environments for social entrepreneurship learning. Let's hear more from our panelists about it. So Marco, I'll come to you first. You worked across academic, non-profit, and private sectors in Italy. So what makes the Mediterranean approach to social entrepreneurship particularly valuable for international students? And what do they experience here that is not easy to get, in other regions?
Okay, thank you, Isha, for your question. Well, I'd like to start saying that, first of all, it's a very vibrant community and on both sides, let's say, of the Mediterranean Sea here, Spain and Italy, Barcelona and Florence. And first of all, it's about the community and the dimension. So, for example, just in Florence, we have let's say around more than 26,000 actually organizations working in this sector that we can, let's say, call it the third sector, and for more than 400K volunteers and 50,000 K of employees. So it's a very big sector that, for example, is in terms of the national GDP, it's very similar to the fashion industry. That's a very important sector for the Italian economy. But these numbers are the same for Europe in general. So where you have 28 million of people working in this third sector and focusing on social entrepreneurship and business and impact. So also for Barcelona, it's the same. Just if we focus on social businesses, and we can say that they have something around 3% of the total global firms, and many people work around 7% of the total employee rate work in the social sector, in the third sector in Barcelona. So it's a very big, let's say, area. So it's a great community, but more than that, it's about the creativity that you can find here. As you were saying, it's a very long tradition about different sectors, so non-profit, cooperatives, and so on. So just to give you two short examples, one of these is, for example, a startup working on how to create an impact through messaging. So we all use very famous, let's say, social media and so on, but there are also bottom-up approaches to try to just to make a business, but also to create an impact while we have, let's say, we have to exchange or communicate each other. At the same time, on the other side, you have, for example, startups. I'm thinking about Florence right now that actually developed an app to help people with disabilities to walk in a very safe way around the city, and especially in very big and old cities like European ones, that's really important. So I think these are two good examples to see that, especially from the bottom up with the engagement of local people, and thanks to the heritage and tradition, you can be very creative and make a business with an impact.
Thank you, Marco. I think that really captures the uniqueness of this European context. And I think it's a great foundation for understanding why this environment is so valuable for learning. Logan, so you studied sustainable fashion and are working as sustainability intern at a luxury fashion company whose brand ethos centers on sustainability. So, what were your expectations about purpose-driven organizations in Europe before you went abroad? And also, what surprised you most when you actually started working on these projects and experiencing the European approach firsthand?
All right, so to answer your first question, to be completely transparent, I didn't have a ton of expectations going into sustainability. It was such a new field to me. I mean, of course, I knew the basics, but I wanted to expand my knowledge on it, my education in it. For the most part, I thought it was just dealing with, social responsibility, what everyone thinks of, like, the worker rights, the supply chain transparency, dealing mostly just with the social side of it. But it wasn't until, I learned more that it is such a cross-disciplinary education and field. I mean, there's everything from economics to politics to a little bit of environmental science. So I think that was like something so surprising to learn, to me at least, and especially here in Europe. I saw so many teams and currently see so many teams from different sectors and industries come together to work towards sustainability goals. And then to answer your second question, so what makes working in sustainability so unique to Europe? I would have to say how embedded sustainability is in the culture here. So I'll give you a prime example. During my studies in sustainable fashion, we were taken to the largest textile recycling district in Europe, which is Prato. So we go to this place and we go and we see textile recyclers, and we get to engage with the people who were enacting in this process and got to learn a little bit more about it. And come to find out, it's been an age-old tradition. For about 100 years, they've been doing this very rigorous manual process of separating textiles from large industries and brands that would send them obsolete textile waste. So, and while that might not seem like sustainability at first, it is, because I mean, it's a part of recycling and the circular economy. So it was very, very unique to see how they ingrained that process into their culture and into their lifestyle. And essentially that is a really big part of sustainability. So just reemphasizing the point that, it is absolutely a cooperative tradition.
Thanks, Logan. And I think it sounds like, sustainability isn't just part of a business strategy, but it's actually really a part of how they approach everything over there. And I think your perspective is really valuable for understanding the real experience over there. So now, before we move on to the next segment, let's take a moment to understand what concerns you might have about integrating social entrepreneurship into your study abroad program. So there is one more poll, and it asks, what's your biggest concern about integrating social entrepreneurship into study abroad? Okay.
Again, Isha, we're across the board.
Yeah. I love to see the answers dancing like that.
I do too. And we'll share in just a moment once everybody's had a chance to answer. All right, I think we got everybody's answers. Let's see.
Thank you so much again for voting. Culture preparation and support has got 40%, finding authentic partnerships 40%, and measuring authentic learning outcomes 20%. So it's great to see mixed responses, and we'll be addressing all these topics throughout our conversation. So now let's explore how students actually grow and develop within these environments. One of the most exciting aspects of social entrepreneurship projects is how they bring together students from completely different academic backgrounds to solve real-world problems. So Marco, social entrepreneurship often seems very business focused, but your background spans multiple sectors. So how do you see students from different academic backgrounds apply their disciplinary skills to social innovation projects? And what happens when they say a psychology student or an engineering student, they bring their expertise to these real world challenges?
Well, I think it's a great opportunity because, as Logan was mentioning before, it's a work that you have to do in team. So you need to collaborate and to engage other people very far from you in terms of the, let's say, professional background or just the knowledge. And social entrepreneurship is the right field to start learning. It's not a process that you can get from the top, but it's a process you have to be part in and to build with the others. So, for example, unfortunately, I have to refer to not a really nice period that was the COVID. But during the COVID, many people started working together from different sectors, trying to find out an opportunity, to create an impact for, first of all, the social and health benefits of the other, but bringing their professional business, let's say, side of it. And so, for example, containers were used to provide a safe space for people to get the vaccine. Or other examples I can bring to you are, for example, in the food industry, to use the digital technology. So you need web developers, engineers, as well as people working in the agri-food industry to find a way to create a food hub. So a different way to distribute food on one side, but at the same time to give access in the fair way, not just to the consumer, but also to engage in the fair way, for example, the suppliers, so the farmers. And we know how distant is the gap between the price we pay, let's say, in retail and actually the cost of the food for these big players. So there are many examples. And the important thing is, don't be scared to work with the others, because that's usually that happens usually with especially young people. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Be open and be ready to be engaged in this process. And don't worry. I read the poll. The cultural aspect is a problem. Actually, that's a threat probably at the beginning, but it could become an opportunity. The right answer is the tool you're going to use. And here we can say that we can provide the right methodology that's mainly is based on design thinking, but not just on that can give everyone, whatever the background, the right way to work together and to make an impact together and in the right way and direction.
Thank you, Margot. I think that's fascinating. And the examples that you shared, they show, how every discipline and how everyone can bring something valuable to the table when it comes to social innovation. So one of the most important questions for any study abroad program is, what skills do students actually develop? How do social entrepreneurship experiences, they help students develop these real world competencies that employers are actively seeking? So Logan, what skills did you gain while interning with your organization, and how are you using these skills now?
Yes, I'm happy to share. So I did some deep reflection over this question and really was trying to figure out, how did I grow personally and professionally studying sustainability? And I will say, I think I found myself to become incredibly a more adaptable person and ready to just fight, questions or answers and have solutions ready to go. So just constantly thinking on my feet and being able to solve a problem regardless of the situation I might be in or the stipulations that face me. So right now, I would say I'm currently using that in my role as a CSR and sustainability intern, as I have an ESG rating system that I'm trying to help the company create. Basically, they want to assess different sectors against a sustainability criteria and just evaluate their overall supply chain impact. So they work with a variety of sectors from restaurants to fashion. So, while I'm most likely more prone to the fashion side, and that's my niche, I still am not really aware with the other sectors and their sustainability practices. So it's allowed me to at least grow in this field and help learn what are the sustainability criterias and other factors to be looking at. So just being adaptable to situations like that and just being ready to take on any problem with optimism. And then I would say a second competency that I'm very proud of is being more resourceful. So leveraging my connections or researching to help find answers to solutions and overcome sustainability barriers. And I would say a concrete example of this is while at my international school, I was introduced to so many people from all around the world and was so grateful to listen to their perspectives and how might they address other sustainability not solutions, but problems. And I worked with a industry professional from France on my master's thesis and was introduced to an entirely new solution to a problem I was facing, which was regarding textile waste and recovery. So being introduced to him and hearing how does he's from France, France deal with this kind of issue was very insightful, and it really showed me the benefit of being in Europe and being able to connect with so many people from around the globe.
Wow, thank you, Logan. So I love the adaptability, problem solving, resourcefulness, and these are exactly the kind of competencies that, the employers are looking for these days. So, Marco, how do social entrepreneurship experiences systematically develop the core competencies the students need for 21st century careers, especially today, when NACE career readiness competencies are so emphasized by the employers?
Well, I like to say that in some ways, also to connect to what Logan just said, is first of all, questioning everything. So it is important that, again, you have this, as you can see here in the slide, the critical thinking means you have to question everything. So it means don't give anything for granted. So it means that you need this research, let's say, oriented approach, because every single step that you will take in social entrepreneurship, meaning every step of the project you're going to create, it has to be supported by solid numbers, data, and information. At the same time, you have to engage with people. So leadership engagement are very important too, because again, the quantitative aspect of the analysis is important as well as the qualitative. And especially in this sector, that it's not just about business and profit, but it's also about impact. And so it's about the life of people. You have to really care about what you're going to do. So you have to think many times before taking an action. And in that sense, sustainability can help with the right framework and tools and techniques. The other important thing is, I say, and that comes from my also chats with different HR departments, supporting different students, and is that, again, problem solving mindset. This is another important thing that you need. So it's not just about having a great, brilliant idea, because that's not the point. The point is that useful? Is that useful for real people? And then again, what's the impact you want to create? And then you start thinking about all the rest. But the first thing is see if someone needs your help, and then how to activate and then engage people. So this, again, problem-solving approach, the capacity to engage with people, to lead, but also to follow, because it's not just about leadership. I think this is what actually HR departments are searching for right now, and especially, and I'd like to conclude with this too, again, data. One important thing about social entrepreneurship and or the third sector in Barcelona, Florence, or Europe, or the Mediterranean area is that the majority of people are young. The ratio between the gender is almost 50%, or there are many organizations led by women. And the other important part is, going back to the definition of sustainability, cooperation between generations. I think these are the three most important aspects that, of course, are an opportunity, a great opportunity for young people to start creating their own path, a career in this sector. And they will be fine later on if they want just to, switch to something else.
Thanks, Marco, for explaining these competencies in detail and why each one of them are so important right now in the workforce. So now we go to the cultural navigation. So beyond skill development, there is another crucial element, the business culture. Students are working with European business culture, which operates quite differently from probably what they are used to. So this cultural adaptation is both a valuable learning opportunity and can be a challenge that programs need to address. So Lorenzo, the question towards you, How do students typically navigate the cultural differences in European business practices and social enterprise models? And what challenges do they face? And how can programs effectively support this cultural learning process?
Thank you, Isha. Well, when students go abroad to engage with European business practices or social enterprise models, they're not just adjusting to a new job, they're entering a different culture, legal and organizational world. And while this is often exciting, it also comes with real challenges. Most students begin their journey, and we can ask then Logan as well, they begin the journey by simply observing. They watch how people communicate, how decisions are made, and how time is managed. Then they compare all of it to what they're used to back home, and slowly they will adapt. Take, for example, the contrast in communication styles across Europe. In the Netherlands or Germany, feedback can be very direct, which may feel harsh for some people. In France, on the other hand, communication is often more nuanced and indirect, so that it leads sometimes to confusion. In Southern Europe, like Italy or Spain, students might experience a more flexible relationship-based approach, which can be perceived as disorganized if they're used to the efficiency-driven environment back home. Now, layer on top of all this the complexity of different legal systems. The European Union has shared regulations, things like data protection and environmental standards, but each country applies all these differently. Understanding where the EU law ends and national law begins can be very confusing. The same goes for non-profit governance. Students may encounter unfamiliar board structures, funding sources, or state support systems that operate completely differently of what they are used in the US or in other countries in the world. So how do we support them? Before they leave, students need more than travel tips. They need cultural context, focus on cultural intelligence, not just etiquette. Introduce them to business culture variations across regions and give them real-world case studies of social enterprises. Then the on-site support is fundamental. A good orientation should cover more than logistics. It should address cultural norms, legal frameworks, and expectations in the workplace. Mentorship, especially from local peers or interns, can be a powerful tool to help students process what they're experiencing in country. And don't underestimate the power of group relations and reflections among each other. Just talking through those, why is this happening? These moments can make all the difference. And finally, help them reframe discomfort, a little bit what Marco said before as well. Feeling lost or confused is not a failure. It is part of the learning process. Yes. If we can teach students to stay curious, flexible, and open to different models of doing business, we are not just preparing them for the new experience, we are preparing them for global leadership.
Thanks, Lorenzo, for the elaborate answer. I think even the cultural differences that you mentioned in different countries are such an important part of, the overall learning experience, and even the adaptation journey that, like it shows that there is so much learning happening beyond the project work. So, yeah.
Definitely is, yeah.
Yeah. So now let's get practical. Building partnerships that work for everyone involved requires understanding what makes collaboration sustainable year after year and knowing what practical considerations to evaluate before adding a social entrepreneurship component. So, Lorenzo, what key factors should program administrators consider when deciding to integrate social entrepreneurship partnerships into their study abroad programs? And what are the important boxes they need to check before moving forward?
Well, when integrating social entrepreneurship partnership into study abroad programs, program administrators should take a strategic and holistic approach to ensure that such collaborations are meaningful, sustainable, and align with both educational goals and community needs. These partnerships offer a powerful opportunity to enhance students' global competencies while contributing at the same time to the local development. Their success depends on thoughtful planning, mutual respect, and clearly defined outcomes. First of all, strategic alignment is essential. The partnership must reflect the institution's mission and academic goals. Is there faculty support? Can it fit into existing curricula? Does it advance diversity, equity, and inclusion? Second, partner credibility matters. Local organizations should be ethical, legally registered, and have a proven impact. Can they clearly define roles for students and engage community sustainably? Student support and safety are also critical. Programs should offer strong supervision, cross-cultural training, and clear safety protocols, and students need mentorship as they navigate the real-world challenges. Next, focus on educational outcomes. Programs should target skills like innovation or system thinking and include outputs like business plans or community assessments. Also, pre-departure prep and post-program reflection help students absorb what they learn. Finally, consider cost and sustainability. Is the financial model fair and transparent? Can the program be scaled without sacrificing quality? Are there scholarship or funding to ensure access? Building lasting partnerships takes time. They must be based on mutual value and not just transactions. Long-term success means putting ethics, impact, and student growth at the center.
Thanks, Lorenzo. And I think that's exactly, I'm speaking for the audience, but that's the kind of practical guidance, we need. And those factors you outlined really help with the decision-making process. So now let's address the practical challenge probably program directors they face. How do you measure success? Assessing social entrepreneurship experiences require capturing both student learning and real community impact. So Marco, how can program administrators effectively measure student learning in social entrepreneurship context? Like what assessment methods would work best for capturing both skill development and impact creation?
Speaker, Marco.
Sorry, yes, I was saying, well, we can start, for example, from participation to the last one, the guest evaluation. So it's a process. So every single step of the process should be, again, measured and reported to the students. Of course, in a more quantitative way, as usually when you get into a class, you have, thanks to this syllabus. But it's not just like that. It's also, you also need a more qualitative feedback. And I think that what's interesting about this, the social entrepreneurship, let's say, failed, and the approach is that getting feedback from your peers, getting feedback from your professors, getting feedback from the people you're going to work with, meaning, for example, during the visits, you're going to visit local social organizations, and so you're going to talk to managers and entrepreneurs, as well as you're going to work on specific projects for, let's say, local entities. So, of course, they will report about, let's say, the process and give feedback and support to the students. All these aspects are really important. Just to give some examples, again, peer evaluation and the NACE, that at the end of the day is very important. And it's also, it can be linked to what we discussed before. Well, let's start from example for supporting the students in developing a SWOT analysis on their already, let's say, existing background, but also to track their progress towards the shared goals with the, for example, with the teachers, and at the same time to reflect on the development and or the different experiences, like for example the visits, and how those visits actually enrich the experience and or one of the 8, let's say, key characteristics that the NAAC profile or framework requires. So even in that case, the journal, reflection journal is very important. So taking a moment to think about what's going on, how you feel, and again, the gap according to not just opinions, but to shared and very well planned, thanks to the support of the organization, let's say, path of progress, so that you can be monitored again and have also a more informal chat to understand what's going on and maybe how to improve. Team project is the place, let's say, or the point where you actually develop all the, let's say, the key and important resources we discussed before. For example, design thinking, what that means, again, problem solving techniques applied to a specific context and or case, developing the solution according even here to some very well established techniques in the field and in business. And then, of course, there will be the final presentation to some real people, the same people that you met along your path. So having the capacity to talk in another cultural context to other people very far, again, in cultural terms from you, but presenting them a proposal or recommendations to improve the situation, to solve the problem, to make the next steps. I think this is part of the experience, and of course that will be evaluated not just in a more traditional way, academic speaking, but let's say also from with a feedback from, let's say, the guest that will be, of course, invited to hear and directly from the voices of the students, their ideas and their projects. So it's at the end of the day, it's a mix of quantitative and qualitative tools. Some of these very well established in the academic context, but at the same time mix up with very well established, let's say, professional techniques that we can find in the business environment. So I think that's another great opportunity for students to grow and to learn.
Thank you, Marco. And I think the points that you mentioned, this will really help the educators with how they can measure and communicate the program's success. So in the next part of the webinar, Gina will explore how to transform educational concepts into practice and briefly introduce our standard programs in Italy and Spain, where sustainability is woven throughout our programming. So before we do that, let's get a sense of challenges you face, while trying to build programs that combine academics with hands-on sustainability projects. And you can write your answers in the chat. Meanwhile, Gina, over to you, and I hope some of these thoughts they get addressed through our discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Isha. And thank you, Marco, Logan, and Lorenzo for such amazing, thought-provoking answers to the questions today. As Isha mentioned, I would love to connect with you all a little bit about our new summer and semester programming at Authentica. We understand that Florence and Barcelona are extremely popular destinations within the ed abroad world, and can sometimes be oversaturated. What we have found is that we want to create programs where students want to go, but our programs at Authentica, they're not just about where the students go, they're also about how they grow and how they do more within the context, the contrast, the challenges within these particular cities. The programs that we've designed are designed for students that are ready to engage academically, socially, environmentally. And it's hands-on learning. It's not just a schedule of coursework throughout the week. It's a framework for transformation. Next slide, please. So we all love, well, I don't know if we all love getting a postcard, but I love getting a postcard. I know a couple of my colleagues love getting a postcard. And it's great to receive those from vacations. And so what happens is, a lot of students, a lot of home institutions, a lot of parents think that their students are going to go to Florence. And they're going to drink wine and they're going to eat the best cheese and they're going to have the best espresso. And they're going to take the best pictures and they're going to post them on Instagram and it's going to be amazing. And that's true. They're going to have all of those things. But in Florence, we're going beyond the postcard. In Barcelona, we're going beyond the postcard. We're going into the purpose. In Florence, students, may have the opportunity to collaborate with local startups, NGOs, social enterprises, tackling things like climate adaptation, urban equity, youth employment. I think back to what Logan had said. She really hadn't been aware of these things outside of kind of the surface level that we all are aware of, but these programs take people into that purpose. And so students aren't just observing, they're embedded within the ecosystem of change. They're contributing to projects with real world consequences. And why that matters is, excuse me, we are equipping our students to be problem solvers. We're giving them practical tools. We're giving them cultural agility. And we're giving them experience within that cross-sector collaboration environment. They return home. They still have the Instagram posts. They have the memories. They have, the food pics and whatnot, but they also bring back portfolios and partnerships. They bring back purpose. And then in turn that spreads, right? It spreads to their home institutions. And what the universities will gain are outcomes driven programming, based on what these students are bringing back. And we're aligning with the institutional goals and the global frameworks like the SDGs. We also have a very cost conscious model designed for scalability. We really are trying to allow institutions to serve more students and serve more meaningfully without compromising on quality or ethics. We take the framework of what we've built, and we don't just talk the talk, we walk the walk when it comes to sustainability and being able to give back. Next slide, please. We all know that academics is academic integrity, academic rigor, that's a non-negotiable. It is a study abroad program. Authentica works with US accredited institutions, and we ensure that credit has the opportunity to transfer seamlessly back into the student's career path, degree path. And because we incorporate and integrate sustainability across disciplines, as you've heard today, it doesn't have to be fashion, it doesn't have to be circular economics. Students from a wide range of majors can find relevant and rigorous coursework within these programs. And again, we offer more than just standalone courses. We deliver this cohesive academic experience that's anchored in that local context. We're using the cities as the textbook. Our faculty, as you may have heard today, are experts who double as facilitators on community-based learning. They help students connect theory to the actual impact of the program. And then, if you can't find a course on this screen, we also offer additional courses through some international institutional partners like IAU, giving us some flexibility to meet other needs as well. And then the next slide, I will turn it over to Lorenzo to talk a little bit more about another program that we have for professionals.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Gina. So we ask students to engage deeply with the word. And through our Impact Florence program, we want to invite educators to do the same. This program will take place in Florence right after EAIE 2025, from the 13th of September to the 19th of September, and is a hands-on, purpose-driven experience where you lie and you see the values of sustainability, community partnership, and experiential learning while gaining practical tools to reimagine international education. You will participate to a series of workshops, meet local experts, being a chef in a cooking class, where we lead several site visits to important venues and confront with local community matters. We will end the week with a full-day excursion to visit a vineyard and olive oil producer in the Chianti area, and continue the workshop with a wine tasting under the charming patio. So the deadline will be August the 25th. So please sign up if you want to learn more about Authentica, and hopefully see you in September too.
All right. Thank you, Lorenzo, for talking a little bit about impact, and thank you, Marco, Logan, Isha, for participation today. We wanted to give the participants on this call a chance to ask some questions. You can either unmute yourself or you can write your question in the chat. And we'll give everybody just a couple minutes here to ask some questions. Let's see, I did get a question sent privately to me. So it seems like, let's see. I guess this one's going to be for Marco. It didn't really come through, but take your time or your turns answering this one. European social ventures often operate with different organizational norms than US companies. Well, I guess this could be for Logan too. What challenges do students typically face when adapting to the European way versus the US way?
Okay, so this is for me, sorry, or for Logan too?
I think anybody can probably answer it. Logan, you can probably answer it from a personal perspective, and Marco, maybe you can answer it, or Lorenzo, you can answer it from a observation of students.
Yeah, so if Logan, if you don't mind,
Yeah, go
just
ahead.
to give an introduction to your next few words. Yes, you're right. I mean, it's the answer is in the question. There is a huge difference when we say, and I use the term third sector. So when I say third sector, not just social entrepreneurship or social businesses, because this is not just about business. This is about a very complex and dynamic world that for just Italy, and if we use the name in third sector, has been viewed in this way since 2017. But of course, it's older than that. There are many entities, legally speaking. So for example, non-profit associations, recognized or not, foundations, in our case, Italy banking foundations, as well as social businesses. Could be, for example, cooperatives. But even the word of cooperatives, there are so many different, let's say, legal again, or kinds of that, of course, it's very, very complex. What they have in common is, for example, for IDA is the fact that if they are recognized, they have to be registered into a national register where, of course, and thanks to that, you will have, of course, some obligations, but also some recognitions and rights. But in some ways, yes, so it's a very rich and full system of different actors, and the collaboration and or the cross, let's say, disciplinary approach is one of the main key characteristics of this sector. So this is, let's say, just to answer very quickly, to say that yes, there is a difference. This is not just about, for example, B Corps. This is more than that, and it's very complex, and the rules are, let's say, could be different, but, and again, in conclusion, at least in Europe and especially in Italy, the third sector is ruled according to specific laws, a national register, and obligations, duties, and or rights for this, let's say, very large group of entities. Logan, I don't know if this helped you now.
Yeah, I mean, again, only because I didn't work too much with sustainability and nonprofits back in the US, I honestly, I can't really say or speak too much about the difference. I mean, it's been a very fruitful experience to work in a European context. And again, I've seen, at least from this perspective, how disciplinary it is and how like meeting all these different sectors has really impacted the work. So yeah, I know I can't give too much 2 cents on it, but unless I may be interpreting the question wrong. If so, let me know.
No, I think that's great. I think that's great.
I
Thanks,
just
both.
add with a sentence that it is completely normal to find difficulties in adapting, all these differences. And that's where programs like ours and many others, we support students. It's our duty to support students and having them understanding the value, the different values that they will encounter, and have really reflective session on what they face daily or weekly or monthly, because every day it will be different. And that's exactly what it means, study abroad. Study abroad means studying something abroad, something different.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And we have another question. People are shy. They're sending them just to me, so I'll read them. So coming from an international educator, what strategies have proven most effective in preparing students to go abroad and work cross-culturally in these type of social innovation environments? Lorenzo or Marco, I think that one's going to go to you. So what have you seen students, I'm interpreting the question, what have you seen students come unprepared for or prepared for, and how do you feel that their experience prior to going abroad kind of...
Yeah, I understand the question, I hope. So the fact that students are coming often, not like Logan, who is staying for years now, but students come for maybe 3 months, and that time is very short, even to start understanding. So in pre-departure, the more they can absorb, the more they can read, even through other classes they can take in their home institution, that would help them immensely. And finally, last but not least, I think the language barrier that they will encounter in the country, in Spain, in Italy, it's huge, because it's not said that all their colleagues, their peers, will speak the same language, so English. They might have difficulties. So if they already know a little bit of Italian or Spanish or the language wherever they go, that will really smoothen that difficulty. So preparing before is the key.
I agree with that too, from the student perspective.
If you don't mind, I'd like to answer with a question,
Please.
even if it's not very polite. So the suggestion is maybe you should ask students before leaving their home is, are you going to be a tourist in Florence, or are you going to be a traveler? Because there is a difference. And so the traveler is the one who wants to get into the culture and maybe come home later enriched by the experience and with much more to give to his peers. So
I really like that. I really like that answer, Marco. Thank you for that. And that kind of aligns with Authentica's stance on programming. Is we want students to be a part of the culture. We want students to really embrace what's going on within their host country, and not just be that tourist that comes through to participate a little bit and then leave and not bring anything back with them. So thank you for that thoughtful answer. And those are all of the questions that I've received. Are there any other questions out there? And please feel free to write them in the chat. And if we don't get to them today, we will definitely follow up with you afterwards. And I do see that there is an Impact Italy link that is in the chat right now if you have more questions or if you need more information about Impact. And then if we could go on to the next slide. These two barcodes here, one is to schedule an appointment to talk more about the summer and semester programs, and the other barcode is to register for our Impact Professional Development Program in Italy. And other than that, if you don't have any questions, I'd love to thank the panelists and the participants for joining us today. Thank you, Marco. Thank you, Logan. Thank you, Lorenzo. Thank you, Isha. Thank you to all of the people that joined. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat or take yourself off of mute. We will be following up with a recording via email for you all as well. And if not, have an amazing day and thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking time out from your busy schedules. Thank you.
Bene.